We are here with Mr. Fred Curls, one of the founding members of Freedom Incorporated, and we're going to do a short interview session. Mr. Curls, thank you. Number one, could you tell us why Freedom Incorporated was founded?
Like it was in a changing period of time. In about the early, middle, or 60s, politics was changing. Pendergast had controlled the Kansas City areas for a number of years, and most of us grew up under that particular regime. But we had begun to see in the 60s, early 60s, we began to get more involved in politics on a personal basis. And we were able to come together and realize that we can no longer operate under the Pendergast regime. In that process, our leadership appeared with us, Leon Jordan, who was older than many of us at that time, and he was in politics, had been in politics, and was sent someplace in Jordan to help form that nation. So he had some background of leadership. He had a tavern at 26th and Prospect, which was his base of business, and he was pretty much independent. And at the original formation of Freedom Inc., membership-wise, it appeared that with Leon, there appeared Bruce, who was highly in politics at that time, and whose family was quite active in the city, and seemed to want to move into political offices. And with that, with Leon and Bruce in the background, I showed up, I guess, as a third party, because I was in the real estate business at that time and was active in politics a little bit. There with us, they also joined us, and with bases a lot similar to mine, was Howard Maupin, who was had a barbershop at 23rd and Prospect, and was involved with politics. And there was Dr. Charles Moore, about 37th and Prospect. He was a doctor, and he too, well, along with myself, we were at some kind of political club, some personal club at that time, but he also was interested in the politics. So across we began to come together under the leadership of Leon Jordan. We met at a theater there on about 26th and Prospect. It was a theater at that time that went out, and we were able to use it for a place of meeting. And of course, at that time in the 60s was the beginning of the freedom movement across the world, or across the nation rather. And we named our organization Freedom Incorporated. After about, I think it was, our first officer, we took over, began the process as Freedom Inc. was Leon Jordan, and we would run for the city council seat, which was was quite a thing at that time. I'm not sure if somebody had served in that, from a black perspective, had served in that before. I'm 91 years old now, going on 92, and I'm getting all forgetful, and I don't have the facts before me. But I think we had blacks that had run, but had one. So we come together with the thought in mind of blending together to where we could elect a black official. In that process, in the winter months of that first year, Leon was killed. At this point in time, I don't remember what year or date it was, but I got to believe that might have been about 67. I don't have a fact before me, but as we was pushing and running him for office, he was killed in the process, which frightened us for a moment, but we kept moving forward, and Bruce took the role to fall in the spot, because initially we had started out with Leon. I think we were trying to run them both. I'm not sure how we were going to do it, but I think Leon had started it, but when he didn't make it, we certainly had to all get behind Bruce and pray and hope that we might be able to get somewhere with him. And as luck would have it, we were able to begin to blend the people together within our community, begin to learn how to take over wards and precincts one by one, and how to deliver the vote. And we were able to get Bruce through at the first time we did that. I think that I should have the record before, but I don't. But I think that was probably about 68. I'm not sure. But that was our first beginning. And from that point on, Freedom Inc. and with the people that just I indicated you, plus a whole lot more, Rosemary Lowe, because we run a committee woman, a committee woman and a committee man. I think that was our first run, was as a committee woman and a committee man of the ward. Well, Rosemary Lowe, because she was quite active initially, she and her husband. And there's so many that helped us at that time that I can no longer remember, and I hope that since we're talking, that if I failed to mention somebody, that people will understand that
I'm sure they will.
I'm slipping.
I'm sure they will.
But the black community did begin to fall in behind us, and there were those that put their political jobs on the line to kind of support us. So from that point on, Freedom Inc. took off as a political-based organization, and we would go from precinct to precinct in the process of taking over precinct politically. We were aware of what we had to do it. We had to go knock on people's doors, explain what we're doing. And of course, then the second generation come along shortly thereafter, and my family was in the top of it working, because I brought those along. Who we got here? Was this one of our colleagues? Which one do?